Good day and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Today we're doing our final installment in the adaptation series on Drew's Book Reviews. We're going to talk about 5 book series that I want to see adapted that have not been adapted yet. So if you want to know what I have to say about 5 adaptations that I want to see happen, stay tuned because that's coming right up here on Drew's Book Reviews. Alright, so this is the final video in my adaptations series. So we're going to get into talking about adaptations that I want to see happen that haven't happened yet. But before we get into that, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. And of course, join me over on the Discord where we can have a great conversation about this and so many other topics of conversation. I'll have that link below. You could also follow me on my Bookstagram, which I'll have linked below as well. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about book series that I absolutely love that I want to see adapted into the screen medium. So I've come to believe that adaptations just work better as a TV series than a movie, especially when we're talking about big, epic, long-haul book series, which so many of the ones that I love absolutely are. And I really do think that these things work better as a TV series now. You know, there are exceptions to that. I think Discworld, for example, would make a great adaptation. So go to a movie platform I think would be better just because the way Discworld is. I don't think making a TV series works as well for Discworld. Just as an example, now Discworld isn't on my list, but we'll just call it an honorable mention. But let's get into the 5 book series that I would love to see adapted to the screen. And from what I've seen of adaptations that have been happening, we're finally getting some decent quality, high-level adaptations happening. So the first one on this list is going to be the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. And honestly, this is probably one of my favorite epic fantasy series currently being written ever. And you know, the good thing with Stormlight Archive is if we did get an adaptation, we could be pretty sure that Brandon Sanderson could probably finish writing the series before the TV show ended. Just saying. This guy writes like crazy. He's putting out books like crazy. The guy's writing like four or five books at the same time in different series. I don't know how he does it, but the Stormlight Archive, not only is it a phenomenal series, visually on the screen, this could just be done so well and just look so amazingly awesome between the high storms and the spread and the powers of the Knight's Radiance and everything in between. I really think that we could do a fantastic job with this adaptation with the right kind of budget, the right people behind the production, and the right people cast in the right roles. Stormlight Archive really could make a fantastic adaptation. I know right now it's already been optioned. If we taken a look at IMDb, Stormlight Archive has already been optioned for adaptation to screen. I just really hope that if it ever actually gets made, that the Stormlight Archive does not wind up as a movie. I just think there's too much in the books to portray in a movie. I mean, you could probably break the first book itself up into 5 different movies itself. I think it would be much better to go TV series on the Stormlight Archive, where we could get like a good 10 episode, 1 hour episode, first season kind of thing. And just overall, Stormlight Archive is amazing and I would love to see it adapted to the screen. And just really anything Cosmere. In fact, I'm gonna change this number 1 on my list to Cosmere in general. Why? Because Mistborn is also awesome. I can't just pick one. There are just too many good books, so I'm gonna cheat. And I'm going to put it together as if the Cosmere should be adapted into a TV series. Not just Stormlight, but also Mistborn. Mistborn is another fantastic series within the Cosmere. And just everything with that, with the Mistings and the Mistborn and the Kandra. And, you know, the ash falls from the sky and the mists and everything. Just, Mistborn is just amazingly awesome series as well. It's a great book series, which would be fantastic adaptation and again into a TV show. Mistborn also has been optioned if we take a look at IMDb for a screen adaptation. Again, I really hope I don't want to see movies from Stormlight Archive or Mistborn. I just don't think it would work well. It's got to be a TV show, and I think it would do so much better as a TV show. So I'm going to count as my first on this list the Cosmere. That way we encompass all of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere work. I know, kind of cheating because there's more than one series. I don't care. My video, I'm going to cheat. Cosmere. Cosmere, I'm counting as one that I want to see adapted to the TV. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, I'm a little bit obsessed with Cosmere. I know, I get it. Let's move on. Let's talk about the next book series that I would love to see adapted. The next book series that I would love to see adapted is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is just an amazing futuristic space opera based off of ancient Roman culture mixed in there. So a lot of the leadership within Red Rising world, it kind of has this Roman governmental style feel to it. We've got different classes of people divided by color, civil war, space battles, just everything. Red Rising is just, it's just so good. It's an amazing story, and you know, it definitely starts off kind of Hunger Games-ish, but it definitely evolves into something so much bigger and so much greater than that. With Daryl and everybody, it's just, Red Rising is a phenomenal book series. It's one I've really enjoyed. I've read the series twice now, and I will probably reread the series again at some future point, or at least listen to it on Audible again. Red Rising would make a phenomenal TV series adaptation, and from what I've seen from The Expanse on Prime Video, I feel like Amazon Prime would be a good candidate to adapt Red Rising because they've done such a good job with The Expanse. If they adapted Red Rising, I think they would do a really great job with Red Rising as well. So that is definitely something that I would love to see adapted into the screen, because that would just be fantastic. I think Red Rising would make a fantastic TV show adaptation, and right now there's 5 books, it's supposed to be 6, so there you go. You've already got at least 6 seasons worth of material right there. Well worth it. And if you haven't read Rising, make sure that you do, because Red Rising really is a fantastic book series. So one of the other book series that I would love to see adapted, now technically there's already been an adaptation, but as I discussed in my Bad Adaptations, which I'll have linked in the cards there, it sucked. The current adaptation, like, really sucked. So the next one up that I would say that we should see adapted, I'd like to see adapted, is Dresden Files. I want to see a good adaptation of the Dresden Files, because honestly, the adaptation that we've seen so far was just terrible. Not even worth watching. If you didn't know there's an adaptation, you're not missing much. Don't watch it. I want to see a good adaptation of the Dresden Files. I want to see it done well, because there's so much potential in this, and with so many books, I mean, at this point, I wouldn't even care if the TV show was even based off any of the books. I would be totally fine if they made the TV show into some kind of supernatural monster of the week type episode. I would be totally fine with that at this point, if it's done well and holds to the spirit of the Dresden Files. You know, I think that would just be, it'd be like a supernatural X-Files, essentially. You know, except we got Harry Dresden, who's an actual wizard doing the investigation, and whatnot. So, like, even if we don't follow the books, just having a Dresden Files done well, I would be totally fine with that at this point. So, because there's so many books, right? I mean, you can't have a whole, well, you can have the whole series with all the books if you'd like, but ultimately, just having the Dresden Files adapted effectively well and done well, made well, really get the feel of the books into the show with a good high quality production would just be amazing. And definitely you could take all the different stories and plot lines from the books and weave them into the TV show. Like, as long as the characters are there, and as long as the major overall story arcs are held intact, I wouldn't really care if it came down to a Monster of the Week type episode. You know, I just want to see a good adaptation of the Dresden Files, because like I said, the first one was just terrible. I couldn't even get past the first episode. It was so bad. So it would be really great to see somebody out there adapt the Dresden Files. So Prime Video, Netflix, you know, are you listening? Because I want to say, heck, I'd watch it on Disney Plus. I don't care where it's streaming. If there was a good adaptation of the Dresden Files, I'd totally be into it. So there you have it. Dresden Files is definitely something I want to see adapted. So next up on adaptations that I'd like to see is The Demon Cycle by Peter V. Brett. So The Demon Cycle really is just, the story itself is just amazing. Now, I have heard it does seem to be a bit split. There are people that really don't like the demon cycle and people that really do love the demon cycle. I'm in that camp where I love the demon cycle. Just this idea of demons coming up from the depths of hell to hunt people at night and devour them and destroy them. And the one man who dares to fight the demons, and he's tattooing himself with all these magical wards as he goes out and fights the demons in an effort to destroy them. But it's not just fighting the demons, he's actually having to live off the flesh of demons themselves, and as he devours them, he gains their powers and becomes more powerful and a better demon hunter, but he's also sacrificing his humanity and becoming demon himself. And it's just amazing series. I love the concepts behind this. I love the concept behind this story itself of the demon cycle. I love the ideas portrayed in it and how it all interweaves into this awesome story. It's been a while since I've read the demon cycle, and I will reread it again. I do plan on doing so because I want to eventually make a video about why you should read the demon cycle or why I love the demon cycle, but I want to go in now. I want to reread the series first before I do that. But it'll probably be a while before I get to that, but that is my plan, is to eventually reread the demon cycle, and I would love to see this book adapted to TV. I think it would make a fantastic TV series. I think it would just be an awesome adaptation all around, and just would be a lot of fun. The story, the overall story behind the demon cycle is just amazing. Love it, absolutely love it. It really is a great book series, and I would highly recommend it by Peter V. Brett, The Demon Cycle, just because it's so awesome. Right, so the last one on my list of 5 books book series I want to see adapted is I would love to see the Powder Mage series by Brian McClellan adapted. This is kind of like a flintlock military fantasy with a very unique magic system that involves snorting gunpowder in order to become a magic user. It's just, the concept there is, well, interesting. Kind of humorous way. Like it's such a unique idea for a magic system. I don't think I've seen this type of magic system anywhere before. This idea of having to snort gunpowder, you know, just sniffing it up and absorbing it and then getting these crazy powers from the gunpowder, but the gunpowder is also used as, well, gunpowder for guns and weapons. The whole series starts with this military coup of the government being overthrown and just goes a mile a minute from there, and just the whole series is just really well done. It's high-packed, full of adventure, full of action, got powder mages and fighting the wars across the land. It is just, like there's so much action and adventure built within the Powder Mage world. And it's a series, again, that I will be rereading. And Brian McClellan has just done such a great job creating this world and this story in the Powder Mage. And I love the way that he does that within these books. And I think it just would make a really, really awesome adaptation to his books, to see that adapted to screen. Again, it's so important that when we're doing these adaptations, we do them right. We get the right people behind them, we get the right budget, we get the right actors, we get the right everything to do it well. Because in my humble opinion, if you don't have the resources to do it well, don't do it at all. You're just gonna make the fan base angry. and you don't. Powder Mage is just a really good series. If you haven't read anything in the Powder Mage world, I highly recommend it. I would love to see this adapted to the screen. I think it would be a fun, exciting, awesome, high-packed adventure adaptation that I think so many people would absolutely love to see, and not just fans of the book, but I think people in general would really love this one. So there you have, there are my 5 adaptations, or 5 books that I want to see adapted, that I think would make some really good adaptations and that would do really, really well. So, let me know down below in the comments, what do you think? Do you like these? Do you think these would make good adaptations? What series would you want to see adapted to the screen? Do you think I missed anything? Well, tell me down below. Looking forward to seeing your comments, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe. You could also join me on my Discord and Instagram, which I will have linked below. And thank you so much for watching, and as always, until next time, keep on reading. Bye!